What is going on, YouTube, comic book community, world, you guys out there? Um, I'm back with the video and I'm going live. And I know I went on this long rant on my last live thing about the postal service. Not going to happen again, but long story short, finally got my books in and it didn't take as long as it did. Um, so I got a few more. I even got more books that came in that I got from eBay. But this other stack that I wanted to wait on, uh, like the one of the reason why I wanted to wait on this because I wanted to talk about like the nostalgia, and it was one of those things that like I don't even know, like can't even remember what triggered me to remember these things, or if I just stumbled upon it and was like, oh my god, like totally forgot about these. But a lot of it has to do with like nostalgia, and has a lot to do with that, like about like even comic book collecting, as far as of like it was like my thing in my family. Like my mom and dad didn't collect comic books. um my brother only really, I don't even want to say he really collected. JP, what's up, JP? um I might as well just segue for a second. If you guys aren't following my boy all about comics and watching his content about Kickstarters, awesome covers that he has, uh, you need to be watching it. You're missing out. You are totally missing out. Uh, yes, nostalgia. Comic books. I was the only one in my family that really, uh, this was my thing. Like I started collecting comic books, and my brother really, like he kind of started collecting with me. I was like, you know, zeroed in on Wolverine and the X-Men. So when I first started, and my brother was interested in Spider-Man, so like he started collecting Spider-Man. But I remember always getting super pissed off at him because he wouldn't like he was so lazy, like he wouldn't put his like comic books back in his bag and board. So sometimes I would just go in there and do it for him. Uh, but anyways, like what I'm like, what I'm saying is like, and it'll understand. You guys will understand when I show you these books. Is that like it even kind of goes in with like music and like your own tastes and stuff, because oh man, I'm gonna be telling myself about how old I am. But like with it kind of revolves around music for me, because music was a huge influence in my life, still is. But I can remember, like, you're influenced by like what your parents listen to, and growing up, uh, especially when we would take long vacations, uh, you listen to what your parents listen to. And my mom was a huge Beach Boys fan, Neil Diamond and Patsy Cline. Those were like three of the big things that my mom really listened to, and that's what I absorbed. My dad like listened to a lot more of oldies. I remember uh, Jerry Lee Lewis being his one of his big uh, musics that he listened to. Musics that and like Little Richard. Uh, but I remember like listening to the Beach Boys so much that there was a period of time in my life that like I just wanted to pour gasoline on myself and set myself on fire, because if I hear one more Beach Boys song, like I'm gonna die. Because in these long trips, you would just like take out one cassette tape and put in the next, then take that one out, and it was just Beach Boys, Beach Boys, and then it's like I can't take any more Beach Boys, but now I can. Like like I love the Beach Boys. Like there's no, I don't have like a super grudge against the Beach Boys. Wow, this is becoming a weird video. Uh, but listening to them now will I have fond memories of the Beach Boys. But I remember the very first CD or tape. Can't even really remember which one it was. Everybody Gone Surfing, yeah. But I remember in middle school, it may have been a cassette tape, but I remember one of my friends like brought in this tape to school, and uh it was Stone Temple Pilots, and he's like, "Have you ever heard of Stone Temple Pilots?" And I was like, "No," and he was like, "But it was their first album, Core," and I took it home. He's like, "Man, listen to this." He's like, "It's fucking awesome." And I remember listening to it and just being like, just blown away by this music. And I remember that was the first time that like I just ventured out. Like, you know, I know this sounds weird, but it was a huge like release for me. It was almost like this was something that I needed in my life, and like I needed this music because to save me from the Beach Boys. But I mean, I really jumped into all different genres, and that's probably why I like a whole bunch of different genres. And Jock is I can listen to Pet Sounds every day. Uh, you know, I can't do it every day. Oh man. But but anyways, like this kind of coincides. Like this is me. Like I got into music, and like I started like listening to the things that discovering things that I like outside my parents' taste, and then and this kind of goes back to the comic books. Like I always had my own taste in comic books, but like the music that I was listening to and the things that I was discovering through music did seep in, and it'll make a whole lot of sense when I show you these books. But I remember seeing like certain things because I was always after X Men and Wolverine. Like that's the only thing like my like young brain was focused on. Uh, but I remember seeing like all these different covers. Like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Uh, they were wrong because like I grew up on the cartoon. They all don't have red bandanas. Like why is it in black and white? you know and then there was like I remember seeing like a lot of the Dark Horse covers, like like Concrete, uh and I remember seeing a lot of like Lady Death and Evil Ernie, and just being like just like whatever. And but like I remember seeing this one particular uh comic book, and I'll get to that, and I was just kind of like you know whatever. But I mean, it was I guess I maybe I matured along with my comic book collecting. So I was just like my interests changed, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. But anyways, let me show you some comic books because I rattled off along. But I'll show you the ones that I recently got. Then I'll get to the ones that brought back nostalgia for me. But this one is Firefly version, uh, covered by Undoflo. Picked up Cobra Civil War G.I. Joe #1. This is cover C. And it was kind of cool. Like, I even put uh, the eBay people I bought it from. Because I thought it was cool that they had like a big ass stamp for advertising. And it's like, I'll just put that one in the back. Uh, Here's cover B. And here is cover A. Um, I picked this up. This is Black and White Magic, and it's a pretty thick book. I didn't even realize like how uh, thick it was, but it was a cover by. Uh, but like maybe you can see how thick that is. This is called Black and White Magic #1. Definitely not stapled. It's glue, but luckily it's in really good minty condition. Like I don't even think it's been opened because usually these kind of thick books would have like the heavy crease from like open it, but nope, this one's good. And plus, you can't really press. Uh, I mean, I guess you could, but I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't dare to venture trying to press the glue bound books because obviously heat and glue. But I don't know, like maybe there are some pressers that are brave enough to do it. Not this guy. Not this guy. Um, this next book, I need to give props to Mr. Gimme That Cigar, Riggedy Giggity Mortis, because I had no idea this even existed, and I found a couple in the dollar bins, but like I wanted another one, and I'm pretty sure when I bought this book, uh, when I bought from this particular seller from the black and white magic book, they had this in their store too, and I went ahead and picked it up. But I really, really love this cover of Rune and the Silver Surfer, and it's a really cool crossover. And then I got Victory Series 2, uh, issue number 1, and this is cover A. As JP would say, that's definitely a babe with a blade. Most certainly. So I was happy to get that. And now for these books. And where? I have one. Okay, here it is. About to say there was one more thing that came with this. All right. JP says, heck yes. So this is one of the ones that got lost, and it came as a combo. But this is Go Nagi's Devilman, and this is the foil cover. See if I can get some of that foily goodness in there. But I'm a huge anime fan, and had to get this. And this is from Verotic. I know I'm probably saying that wrong, or Verotic and Comics, and it'll become quite clear how this ties into music in just a second. But this is kind of tying into anime. But here's a regular cover, and you can actually see it better without all the foil on it. But I was a huge fan of Devilman, and at one point in time, I used to like, I guess during the skater era of the '90s, God, there was a shoe brand that actually had the Devilman shoes, and they were fucking awesome. And yes, I bought them. I used to have the box for the longest time, but like it got tore apart. I used to keep some comic book cards in it, but it tore apart, which is sad because even the boxes had a lot of cool art on it. But that's just another copy of issue 1. And here's issue 2. Yeah. like hold on. You see that hairstyle and that sideburn? Yeah, it's about to make sense here in just a second. And here's issue 3. This is a cover I remember seeing for this on the stands when I was younger. Because I was like, reminded me a lot of like obviously Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. And I was like, huh. But I was too busy chasing Wolverine and the X-Men down. And now, this is where it's all going to make sense. And actually, I'm going to pull this one out again. But this one's Satanica versus Morales Demon. Oh, you guessed it. Is that Glenn Danzig's name down there? Oh, yep, 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 yep. So this is a variant cover of that. But it also, I just want to point out right quick that, oh, that kind of looks like Glenn Danzig. I'm not trying to diss Glenn. I was just like, this is something that, like, I went back and jumped into because I remember seeing these. Uh, but this one's called Satanica Tales of Love. This kind of goes back and coinciding with me, discovering music and, like Danzig was a band that I got into, and uh, with the Misfits and all that good stuff. So like it was like kind of one of those things, and plus, while I was like discovering music, you know, that was almost kind of like a time where like I was finding new music to listen to and collecting comic books, and then I quit collecting comic books during the time of Age of Apocalypse. When the X-Men did the Age of Apocalypse, and I was like, okay, that's too many X-Men titles. I'm done. And I totally forgot about uh, these other books. When I started collecting again, like I was like, oh man, like my taste in books have changed. Uh, I never really like younger. I wasn't much of a cover chaser, I guess. Uh, and I could definitely say I wasn't like a huge DC fan when I was younger. And you know, what brought me back to comics was, I told the story 100 times, was the Green Lantern was what brought me back, or rather the fact that I found out there was different spectrums of it wasn't just Green Lantern anymore. There was like Red Lanterns and stuff like that. But this is Satanica Anniversary 666 issue. But a lot of these are like variant covers. And I basically bought these, like the eBay was like is from the company itself, but apparently like a lot of these books, if you go on eBay and look, apparently a lot of these were what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, they found them in like back storage. And I know Aspen Comics does that. They'll go back into their warehouse and find like a box of books that that haven't been sent out or whatever. So like all these books like have never been read or anything. They just been like sitting in a comic book box somewhere. Uh, but this is what I thought was really cool. This is probably one of my favorite things that I found because apparently, and I'm gonna have to hunt it down and like I may have to buy a VCR because I don't even know. I don't think I even have a VCR anymore uh, because they actually Satanica actually had came out with like I guess a one-time anime movie. Uh, but I found this on eBay, and it's Satanica, the anime storyboards and character designs, uh, which is actually signed by Glenn Danzig. And apparently they say these are hard to find, but I don't know. I didn't do that much research. I know that I think that store has like one more of these, but there's a signature. What's also badass about this is that it came with like a cell. So this is like a film cell, not a film cell, but like the art cell that they used for the film. So I thought that was pretty badass. Um, But yeah, that's it. Uh, like I hope hope you enjoyed the books as much as I do. But like I don't know, I just felt like that was something I wanted to talk about. Uh, and that's another reason why I had the last video. I was just kind of going through stuff because sometimes just watching someone else's video like will trigger something that uh, because there's a lot of stuff that like especially when you first start collecting and you walk into the like a comic book store. It's like there's all this stuff like just kind of like I almost want to say it's kind of overwhelming for but it's a good overwhelming. It's kind of like, oh my god, there's like all this stuff. Like uh, like what do you mean like there's more comic books than X-Men and Wolverine? You know what I mean? Like what do you mean there's more uh to comic books than, just like the Avengers or Batman and Superman? Like, like fuck well, who the fuck is Swamp Thing? You know what I mean? Uh and then like I don't know, like growing up and like even I can't. I keep using the word mature, but like I'm not mature at all. Um, but like, I guess like the mindset of like what you want to collect changes while you grow and when you learn more from other like YouTube creators. But one of my favorite things I found out through this I keep using nostalgia because like I remember seeing some of this artwork and stuff like on the racks, and I just never like I was so wrapped up in like what I was collecting in that time that I didn't really like venture out into other things. And so like now like sometimes I'll see someone else hold up like an older book and I'll be like, oh my god, I remember seeing that. Or if I'm going through a dollar bin, it's like, oh man, holy crap, like this is like triggering stuff, and I start remembering just like sometimes it'll just be an image of a cover that I remember seeing, and I'm like, man, I need to remember the title of this book. And then sometimes, like, I'll just remember like someone talking about something, which will remind me of like a conversation I heard in a comic book shop, and it just like I don't know, maybe I can't be the only one um, that like that loves getting these triggers and stuff. But I don't know. I'm super happy, and plus, I got a Glenn Danzig signature on a really awesome book. Um, but yeah, um, that's all I got, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Uh, and I'm Pope G, and peace out. Keep collecting. Check each other out.